first of all, we've been going at it for, I don't know, has it only been a week, Jamie? I don't even recollect, but
officially, yeah, a little over a week. Yeah.
And it's been going really well. It's been obvious to me and to our coaching staff that the team has put a lot of effort into the summer and what we wanted to build before the coaches arrived. So there was a real emphasis for them to make sure that we were at a place after the summer that would give us the opportunity to work further into the season, kind of the readiness for a real season, as opposed to just being day one at a camp, at a training camp. So we've been able to move in and dive in further than we ever have, or in the last couple of years than we have, to the strategies and the understanding of team play, because they took care of a lot of the things individually. Conditioning, focus, readiness. They worked on drills in the summer. It was, the captains group really worked with the team to make sure that we were on par with everything that we needed to before we started up. So it was a pleasure for us to come in and see where they were at, and we're looking forward to seeing where that is. I mean, we're well ahead of where we were a year ago in terms of the content of each practice and the depth of each practice. So we're pleased with that, and very, very positive about our team, and it's the chemistry that they have and the culture and work ethic.
Can you talk a little bit about just what we're going to see this year in the Big Ten?
Well, if you've looked, it was interesting because we're going to be getting our preseason rankings out coming up soon enough, and a lot of the teams had to put forward, people on their teams, and that they would expect would excel this year. And boy, the list is long. The list is long because so many people return their senior All-Americans, and that goes for a lot of teams. We had a lot of seniors in the group last year, and a lot of them did decide to stay. And with the Olympics going this summer, some of them are in line for a future Olympics, but they had that not been this year, maybe they would have jumped into that. I think there's so many great players and so many great All-Americans back. So the league is tough. I mean, you have 6 teams, I believe, in the top 12 in the nation. You're looking at, I think it was 4 in the top 8. So, it's just the way, but that's pretty typical for our league. And if you are successful in our league, you're a very successful team. You're not just kind of doing well. It's not about the league. It's about if you're in the mix, you are definitely nationally ranked at a high level. So we know that we are up against the best. We have to prepare because we're up against the best and have to prepare like that. And we're doing that. So.
Do we want to start with questions, or do we want to have Cathy talk about some of her players specifically? We can go by position. Okay, maybe we'll do that. Cathy, probably the most experienced position you bring back is your middles. Right. You've got 2 senior middles who have played since they were freshmen, a very talented junior in Emma Monks, and a talented newcomer. So if you can just kind of talk about your middles for a little bit.
Right. Well, I think you had both of them, or 2 of them on just before me. And, they've been here for 4 years and have had a tremendous amount of experience playing in many, many high level matches. And so they're, they both are very athletic and dynamic and run a great slide and 31-51s, that type of thing. They're just very dynamic. The experience, we hope that it brings a consistency that we're looking for in that role. And Emma Monks is, has had a great summer, and it's obvious that she's doing really well, and how she's prepared as well. So I feel very good about where we're at in the middle and the experience and the know-how. So, we look for them to be, like, I always think about middles as being very terminal, and they've got to be very aggressive, and they can dominate. So I guess the word would be a dominator. They need to dominate at the net as a blocker. The blocking numbers I'd like to see improve from last year, to see that we have more of an influence on the game that way. And so I'm looking for people to step up in those roles and really be able to go up against the very best. The middles in our league, there's so many good ones. There's so many good ones. Listing at top of the list is Dana Retke, who was actually on the list for the Olympic team that just passed. She was on that list. She was one of, she wasn't brought in this year, but she probably will be in the future. And, Lauren Striverins just so many great middles. And so we're deep there, and our middles have to be super, as they go into every single match. So we're looking for our middles to be very dominating and just coming in with that experience and that know-how and to lead, our team in those areas of defense.
By the way, Dana Rettke is 6'10".
6'8", I think. Yeah.
Oh, is she 6'8"?
Yeah, she's 6'8".
Oh,
But that's
she was on our roster.
She's like
She's
6'10".
6'10". I'd make her 6'10".
She was a ballerina until she went into after the 8th grade. So that was interesting. She can move, and she's very dynamic. But I think we've handled her fairly well. I think we've done a good job of trying to slow her down a little bit. I think that she's an exceptional player, but there's many of them, and she's one of many.
Let's move to your outsides, right sides, and talk a little bit about who we're bringing back there. And
well, you're looking at so from the outside right side position, we're looking at a lot of that as being together. So I don't say you're just a left side, you're just a right side, but primarily you're looking at Cecily Max Brown and Bianca Kevin-Gelly and Sarah Franklin, as 3 of them on the outside that are really vying for a spot. But if they're not there, you can see them also extending into the right side. When you look at right side, Molly Johnson, who has been out a little bit with injury so far this season, we haven't been able to see what she's been able to bring too much yet, but is a powerful player as well. And then Leah Moore, who's returning, she'll be a sophomore. So we do have some depth. Naya has played back and forth with the right sides and the middles. So, but when we talk left sides only, we're looking for people that can handle the ball and pass to attack, play back row, attack out of the back row. I think all 3 of our candidates are in a dogfight for those spots, but we'll also look at how they can be versatile and moving in other places. But they definitely have grown. Yeah, I'm really pleased with the way we're handling the ball. I like the way we're passing to attack. I think all 3 of them have really improved that part of their game. And we're seeing some really good things from the backcourt in their back row attack and what they're able to do that way. So we're looking for consistency. And last year, we were plagued by the injury bug, but no, not the injury, we were constantly making errors, unforced errors. And so we were looking for getting the consistency, practicing consistently so that we were able to get rid of those unforced errors and stop giving our opponent as many points as we were. So I think that's one of the notable changes I've seen in our practices thus far. Our error ratio is down, and we're making better choices when we're attacking, which will definitely help. If we're not spotting the team we're playing, as many points as we have, it's definitely going to help us be as competitive as we need to. Great teams force you into errors. So we have to do what we can on our side of the net. And I'm pleased with how we're doing over there in that area. The right side block, like I said, I think blocking is really important for the right side. You're going to go up against maybe about 60% of the offense that you're up against. And so your block needs to be very solid and strong. And, so that's a work in progress right now. I think that needs to improve, and it's going to help us for sure as we get a little bit more disciplined with what we're doing and what we're seeing. And that's an area of the game you really have to kind of see and sequence and just keep in perspective and make sure your movements are really disciplined and strong. So that's what we're working on. But I am pleased with where we're at with that.
Cathy, last year, both Sarah, before she got injured, and Cecily played 6 rotations. Do you see either of them kind of continuing into that, or?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the goal. I mean, you want to see as many people play 6 rotations as possible. I think, Sarah always did. So she was, did all year. She really does have the numbers to back her up in that category. She was in the top 2 of her passing numbers for the entire year. So, and then she was injured and she was out the rest of the year. So that hurt us. It took a little bit away of that part of the game. Cecily has been passing really well. So we've been seeing that she was injured quite a bit last year and has been able to steady out this summer and has gotten the kind of reps she needs to benefit her. But she's an explosive, dynamic athlete and is really adding that part of her game that's been impressive. And Bianca's doing much better in the backcourt as well. And so, we're seeing all of them, really improve that part of the game. And I'm sure it had a lot to do with how many how often they were in the gym this summer.
Let's move on to your setters. Your setters are both very young. You've got a sophomore in Celia Cullen, who played for us last year, and then the Miss Volleyball winner, Julia Bishop. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about their progress so far this fall.
Well, the good news is the fact that they're both maybe young in terms of their age, age in college, but both of them were All-Americans coming out of high school. And so they're, Bishop was on the first team Under Armour All-American. And, and I think that Celia was ranked in the top 5 in setters in her class, and just, is amongst a lot of great setters in that class. Actually, you'll see a couple of them in our league, but they're both coming out of very successful club programs. Celia Cullen's team won the national championship. Bishop, she was in the top 5 nationally with her team, and that's a tough thing to do. But I thought they both have moxie. They both are court generals. They're very competitive. They're both very competitive. They're and they work really well together. So I like that. I think that they bring out the best in each other, and they really help teach each other. So their ranges are getting so much better. Celia has really worked on her presentation of the ball. Her feet are so much better than they were last year. And I think that's helping her become a more consistent setter, as well as, Julia has always had like a really consistent ball to the pins, and she's adapting to her middles who are hitting at a higher point than what she's used to. So she's having to get the ball up in the air a little bit more, and trying to make sure that that's all down, and she makes really good adjustments. So we'll see how that all plays in. But I think it's just, we're only so far down the road, but we're putting it all together. And as we move into the end of this week, and then we have a whole nother week next week, we're really going to have to get all these little things kind of ironed out to make sure it's really in sync. But I'm really pleased with where they're at. Both sides of the net, no matter what we're doing, are very competitive because of the setters and because of the hitters that we have in all those areas. And then of course our defense. So, that's what the goal is to make our practices so hard that the games feel like they're a break. So.
Well, that's a great transition into our defense, and talk about your DSs a little bit.
Right. Well, so we have Talia, who you talk to, who is the captain. We have a captain's council this year. So Talia is the head captain of this captain's council, and there's 4 of them on that, with Naya and then Celia Cullen and Sarah Franklin. So they're there. So Talia is, she's just a very grounded person, as you probably could tell. She has this great demeanor, which really helps her on the court, keep everybody really calm and just, settled. And she's done a great job of solidifying that backcourt and improving her game and her all around game. I think she's really done a nice job of that. Lauren Gibbs is another one that's up there. Both of them are vying for the libero spot and getting the jersey, but both of them, will be wanting to use in lots of different capacities, and just making sure they're out there because they bring a great court presence. And both of them are, they're it's so funny looking at their stats. I mean, they're right there, and they're really meeting these numbers that we're looking to meet. And so we're very pleased with how they've improved their game and where they're at with that. And then there's Gracie Danzinger, who's over here from East Lansing High School, and she's improved her game as well. She's going to be she's going to be a freshman because she graduated early into COVID year. So she graduated out of high school early to be with us, but it will be her freshman year as well this year. And so has made tremendous improvement from when she showed up, when it was just all very overwhelming and a very strange year. So has really improved a lot since that time. And we're looking for good things from her too.
And we really haven't talked about your freshmen other than Julia Bishop. And
Right.
Gracie came in in January, was not eligible to play for us because she was a mid-year enrollee. But talk a little bit about the rest of your freshmen and how they're adapting to college ball.
Right. What's that?
That was just me just cheering because that was the question that I was going to ask. So I'm glad.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. Well, so Gracie's one of those freshmen. And so we have talked about her already. And then we have Abby Olin, who unfortunately for us is a really big time athlete, but Abby went out with the ACL in about March and had surgery. So she's out, she's a middle blocker. And so we, we lost her, unfortunately. And then Aubrey O'Gorman, as you may know from Lakewood, who was, their team was finished second in the state and they did really well. She's in the middle group. So she's in that with that. She's learning a lot, eyes wide open. But I know that Aubrey, she's just so competitive and she's very in tune right now to what we're doing and working all the time to be ready for what's coming. And so she's getting better every single day. And I think that as she's picking things up, we're going to see her have a successful career, at Michigan State. And Eleanor Strohoff, I don't know, you guys wouldn't know her, but she's from New Jersey, so quite a ways away. But she's what's that?
Not that far.
Yeah, not that far, but so she's from New Jersey, but Eleanor has a certain gaminess to her that she just seems to make things happen. Like yesterday, she hit like 350 and, in a very quiet way, you don't notice it, but she was getting a lot of swings and she just subtly goes about it and just scores. She finds ways to score and she's an outside hitter, right side hitter. We'll see her in those versatile types of ways. And so that's, so that's great. They're in a dorm together, all four of them, and they cut each other up all the time and they're just having a great time. And so have made a night, have fit in really well. And they all have a lot of personality. And so it's been neat. And, O'Gorman over there has a lot of personality and so they just have a lot of fun. And, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool that we have two local kids here in that freshman class that are here. And so we're looking forward to how they progress as well.
I can just ask a quick follow-up with that. When it comes to, you mentioned the two local kids, but four kids, from the state of Michigan, a little bit different than somebody from New Orleans or somebody from Florida. What's it like seeing that, the state of Michigan is producing such great talent and you have that in your freshman class?
Right. We've always had a lot of people from Michigan, and it's something that we look for. I want to make sure that we look at our state, and if there are people that are ready to play at this level, let's take them under our wing and have them go. But we do look at that, and I love having that sense of because these kids are like, go green, you got two things in the state going on here, and it's go green, and they are diehard and they understand that, and that's something that if you're not from here, you don't understand. It's just this, you bleed green or you don't. And it's they want to represent their school. And I love that. And they understand, just Michigan State as a whole, and they're really exceptional. And so we enjoy that. And then they help those people from New Orleans figure out what that is and everything else. And, I remember my son was telling me when he was in some of the games, and he has some of his teammates that are from other states, and you're getting into the Michigan game, and he's like, guys, what, and soon everybody of course catches on, and so that's we really enjoy how much they've brought to the tradition of Michigan State volleyball, and it's been a great one, and we just like that they are here to be the best they can be and carry that on.
When it came to today, the ways in which I know when we were there, you only had a certain portion of your team there,
yeah,
and a lot more of the younger group
yes,
was there. How was it working with that younger group today, and just seeing their progression as you guys carry along?
Right. So we were, as we were going through, we've been doing double days a lot. And so we wanted to get the younger people there just to understand that blocking progression that we were talking about, just understanding what to look for. So it was sequencing things to see so that the game doesn't seem so fast. Because when you're playing and you're in high school and you're playing against good club teams, there's no doubt you're playing against good people. But you can always tell on the other team who's the star you need to stop, or maybe 1 star, 2 stars. But when you're going in our league, you're going to be faced with 5 attackers that are coming at you all the time. And so if you don't slow that down in your brain, you'll become overwhelmed. And so we wanted to make sure the sequencing was right so that they would be there. And so I enjoyed talking to them and working with them. We had a couple upperclassmen there just to kind of help, that they were working on something a little bit different, but they were, able to kind of communicate with them about how to do that. Everybody starts off with that process, and we just wanted to make sure that they were up to speed, because I can see, you see that look like, I'm a little overwhelmed. And can somebody help me individually? But the game is going fast and you can't always stop for that. So we wanted to make sure we gave them that extra time. And so I think that will help because it made sense. You give the backstory to it. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you working on? And, but they're all they're earnestly listening and working and digesting and then saying, okay, I do see where it looks fast. When you're watching a game, it doesn't seem as fast, but when you're making decisions that fast, it is difficult. So we got to make sure they're ready because we're into the hunt right away. The teams that we play the first weekend, for instance, Western finished second in their league, but Wright State went to the second round of the NCAA tournament. The following week, we're playing Weber State, who was a top. They were in the second round of the NCAA tournament last year, and then we play BYU. Then they're 15th in the country. That right after them, and so we're going up. I mean, I think Wright State, Jamie, I don't know. I think they're in the top 30 in the RPI. So
Yeah,
they're up there.
Yeah.
So our schedule is not going to be easy. And then you add on at the Big Ten schedule, definitely not easy. So it's not like we put a bunch of patsies in there that we're going to just run all over. We're not. It's going to be challenging right from the get-go. And so we want to make sure that, those young ones come in and they're starting to get there so that they'll be ready to contribute. And it's not because of what they don't know. I want them to know as much as they can so they can be self-led. And if our players talked about being player-led, we wanted them to always be that. And I think there's a lot of definitions of what that means, but we want our players to be able to understand what we're getting at. It's not about Cathy George. It really isn't. It's about Cathy George and staff helping our team understand what we're trying to accomplish and having them be able to be the resources they need out there on the court when they're playing and that they have answers. If it's all about me dictating, that doesn't do anybody any good. Like we need them to understand. So we need to teach well, and we need to help them feel confidence through their decision-making and through their recognitions and things like that. And if they get there, or when they get there, they'll be more confident. So it's just about making sure that they can be in a split second, they can be decisive, and we saw that, and they have to understand the whys. And so practice today was good. We know it'll lead into this afternoon when we get competitive, because we will be doing we'll do a lot of competitive situations this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Jared, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, the players earlier were talking about how the roster is smaller than in past years in terms of just the number of players. Has that made your job easier or harder? And how do you think that's going to affect the team this year?
I always have gone with team, honestly, we've had a couple big teams for me. I usually like it about this number. The hard part is Abby Olin is injured. So that's hard. Because she'll be out for the whole season. So that makes you just one tick shorter of people. But, I like the number to be about 16, and we've been more like 18 lately. So it's a nice number as long as everybody stays healthy. And in the days that we're in, you just don't know how all that works out. And then, we do have a couple people with injuries that have been nagging them over time, and you're just hoping that everybody stays as healthy as possible. And, and that'll be fine. I like the fact that everybody's really versatile, and we do have an older cast that understands things. So that's great. And so we'll see, but it could become an issue if people in the same position become injured, right? So we've got to make sure that we're staying healthy and strong. And they're so much stronger this summer, and so much more fit than we've been in previous years. I like that. I think they've really worked very, very hard with our strength coaches and have done a tremendous job of preparing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Do we have other questions or?
It's one thing about the summer. It's weird because some sports do actually have where the coaches can work with them, like with the players. It's not volleyball. And so they have to do it well. And it's really on the leadership of the team to do that. And if they don't, it sets you back, and so you really have to rely on it. You're like keeping your fingers crossed. You're like, okay, please, can they be ready? Right. And so I was in there doing that all summer, and you just don't know. And then when they come in, it's like, okay, where are we, so if you're seeing your players and they're at a place where they did do the work and they're ready, you just can move along a little bit quicker, and that's you're not spending your time on things that we should be beyond, and that's what one of the goals we had as a staff, as a team, was to just kind of like get started with the things that matter quicker, the things that, they all matter, but to get things that are going to contribute within 2 weeks from when we get there, because we turn around and we play fairly quick. So we need to be ready for that. And so I liked that they made that a focus point, and they really did come through on that goal.
Cathy, what's your favorite part of having some normalcy back?
Well, I just want to be so normal. I just want it to be normal. I want fans. I want the exhilaration that you have being in our league. Like, you go from place to place to place, and it's just packed with people, and it's just exciting. You feel the extreme competitiveness and that type of thing. But, it was hard when you were at home and you didn't hear anything. And usually we have the band back there in the student group, and people, getting behind you and helping you over the edge at that time. We love having our fan base, but we didn't have that. And it's just hard. And I'm sure everybody experienced that. And we actually love going on the road and being called all sorts of different names and doing doing that, because there are some really raucous crowds that say some not so nice things. And you get in there, but you feel all that, and you just, you're up against it, and you just get you just get that little extra something. And I love that. I just think the competitiveness of it all, and just getting back to what we do this for, you can just feel it, and the energy and the excitement, the music, the bands, the cheerleaders, the fans, the student. I just love it all. So.
Okay. What should we look for during the green and white game on Saturday?
Well, we'll split the teams probably, and tinker around a little bit, but we'll probably split them up and work to just be in front of people. I think that's really important. You get out there, you get some of those nerves out in that first appearance. And I think that's, you want to get that out of the way. You'll see different people rise up. I want to see who plays well in those conditions. And, because you haven't seen everybody play in those conditions. So even our freshmen of last year, we didn't have with any kind of fan base. So you're going to see how that works out. And you might find yourself a surprise or two, but I wouldn't be surprised for that at all. I think we're going to have a lot of players that probably you guys aren't tracking on as much, but I think we'll have big seasons, and, it's yet to be determined if they do. So I think, just getting out there, and this will be the official start. They'll put the jerseys on, they'll lace up them shoes, they'll go out there, there'll be fans watching them, there'll be music, there'll be all that kind of stuff. And they'll be like, okay, we're finally getting this going.
I'm sorry, I missed. WILX has a question.
Okay.
Hey, yeah, sorry you can't see me. This is Natalie Kerwin from WILX. My camera has given me some issues, but nice to see you, Cathy. Hope you're doing well.
Nice to not see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll get this fixed for the next one. But my question is, and I apologize if someone already asked this earlier, I hopped on here a little bit late, but what excites you most about this specific group of girls? Is there anything that stood out to you so far? And I kind of heard you talking a little earlier about how, this isn't the Cathy George show. This takes my staff. It takes my athletes understanding what I'm asking. Obviously, a big group effort to make things work. So have you been seeing some of those traits, and just kind of talk about really what you've seen from this group this year? Absolutely.
We didn't have the season we wanted last year, and there was a lot of things that it made it a very challenging year. But this group has made a dedicated effort to really come together and to work their butts off this summer. They've made it that challenge, and they do understand what a player-led team. We ask those kind of questions all the time. What exactly is culture? What exactly is, what does it mean to be a player-led team? And it's not about you have to wear white shirts today or green shirts today, or you need to walk in a line or whatever it is. It's like that kind of stuff. It's like, what are you doing daily to make decisions that are going to reflect what your what your cause is, what your goals are, and are you helping each other do that? And are we keeping that as keeping what we want as a focus? And they really have done that well. They've worked really hard over the summer, which a lot of teams do. I mean, we've had a lot of teams over the years that have done that, but I really do think that they're able to have the tough talks when somebody, when maybe not making good decisions, or when we're not prioritizing our team or that type of thing. I think, they've really set some goals or guidelines and standards of excellence. So, they're not looking, it's not okay to not work hard. It's not okay to give half efforts or to just show up. You've got to be committed to what we're doing in the process, while you have to be fully engaged when we're here. And I see a lot of that. I see just those habits that you have to have in a team. And, some people will let you off the hook on that. And then there's other teams that just won't. And this team just doesn't seem to let the team off the hook on those kind of things. And the energy and the levels of play, I think that's really important. That is coming from them. So I saw that happen. I do like this team because they've dedicated themselves to this process, and they're really focused on what are we doing this minute, and are we doing it to the best of our ability? Like, what are we doing right now? Sure, there's things that you want down the road, but we're not even worried about that. We're saying, what are we doing today and how are we getting better? And they're keeping their mind more like that than any other team that we've had. So I really am looking forward to that.